Hi everyone, it's Mike here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I thought I would introduce you to some new products which are available now on my website. So these have just come in. I've actually got the stocks for everything of these ones. I've actually been sitting on them for a little while because I was unsure of the international postage situation due to obviously the pandemic and everything that's been going on. I know post has been affected throughout, delays, all that kind of stuff. So I've kind of been sitting on these for a little while, but now word's getting through that post is kind of getting there. It's getting back to normal all over the world. So time to release them. So the first two products that I've got to show you today are two new stencil designs. So the first one is called Deakin. So obviously a lovely kind of hexagonal honeycomb kind of stencil, but made up of dots. And that's kind of the theme for these two stencils that I've got for you this month. So obviously these are 300 micron mylar, so they're fairly sturdy. If you've bought stencils from me in the past, you'll know that these are not that flimsy kind of stencils. These are very sturdy and will take some battering, trust me. The second one that I've got is called Dotty Wave. Now, this one is kind of a versatile one. It's, can be used for quite a few different things to get different effects in your art journal pages or on your card making or scrapbooking pages, because not only is that a nice kind of like dotty wave pattern, but if you turn it that way, it can also be bubbles coming up from the ocean floor, or it can be smoke, or it can be anything like that. So it can be used for quite a few things. You can use it for seaweed or even clouds up in the sky if you want some stylized clouds as well. So you've got waves, clouds, seaweed, bubbles. It can be used for a variety of different things. So again, made out of the same material. So I'm going to be using, I'm going to try and integrate some of these into an art journal page in a second. But I just wanted to introduce those two to you now. So they, like I said, they're available on the website to purchase right now. So that's those. The other things that I wanted to introduce you are three brand new products. So in my laser cut range, so we've got circles, hexagons, and squares. Now these are laser cut MDF, so it's low formaldehyde MDF. So it's carb compliant, so it's eco-friendly and doesn't harm the environment at all. Now, the laser cuts that I've done in the past have been on 3mm MDF. These are on 2mm MDF because these are designed not necessarily for working on canvases or 3D mixed media projects. I've actually designed these so that they will work in your art journals too. They are concentric shapes, so laser cut concentric shapes, circles, hexagons and squares. There are others coming. I have got plans to do some more, but for now I'm just going to release these three. So in the new packaging, so I'm bringing my laser cuts packaging in line with my stencil packaging, making it again eco-friendly and 100% recyclable. So all this packaging now is 100% recyclable. The cellophane wrappers and also the craft cardstock is totally recyclable. So everything can be recycled, including the MDF, because, like I said, it's low formaldehyde formation. So what's so different with these? I'm calling these my spotlights because I've been working and using spotlights in my art journal pages recently in projects. This is just another extension of what you can use for a spotlight kind of effect on an art journal page. Now today I'm going to work with the circles because I've got an art journal page project kind of like set up ready to show you. When these come in the packaging to you, I will just put some repositionable tape on the back just to hold them in place. But they are, that surprised you, didn't it? They're actually all cut as one. There are tiny, tiny little nubbins inside here, and all you have to do is literally just pop them off. And then if you've got a little bit of an emery board, you can just file off the nubbin if it's sticking up a little bit. Just makes it a bit easier to transport so that they're not all getting loose inside the packaging and bulking up. So it makes them a lot easier and cheaper to post if I can keep them all in one piece. So that's how they come to you. When you get them, if they've been bashed about in the post, they may have popped a little bit. So one or two may have come off. But as you can see, they're fairly sturdy. So that's what we're going to be working with today. So I'll put those to one side. So my idea for these to be used as kind of spotlights or frames. So I've got my 8x8 Dilutions art journal out here, and I've pulled out some bits and pieces, some background pieces. I've got some music paper which I've already torn. I've got some old grid paper or graph paper. I've got bits of dictionary paper that I've also already just torn up into strips just to use. And I've also dipped into my Tim Holtz ephemera collection and just pulled out a few bits and pieces from different collection. I've got a couple of pieces from, I think it's the Field Notes, and I think this one comes from the new Urban set. I'm not actually sure whether or not that is a piece of Tim Holtz or whether it's just got in there, it's just snuck in there under the radar. So that's what I'm going to be using kind of like in the background of my art journal page. So before I bring in the focal points and that kind of stuff, I'm going to just make a start by gluing some of these bits and pieces down. So unfortunately today there is going to be some drying time, so it's not going to be done as a total one-shot art journal page because I will need to use some matte medium just to get everything down, and I'm also going to go over with some clear gesso as well. So I've got my Dina Wakley clear gesso there. I'll just grab my matte medium. So I've got my Galleria, give it a shake, and I'll try not to get it everywhere today. I normally do get it everywhere. So I'm going to put plenty down there. I'm going to bring just a little bit over this side because I'm going to integrate and move over to that side of the page again. So I've got a brush, so I'm just going to quickly go around the page. Just add a bit on there, with loads and loads of this. So I'll just brush most of it up onto that side, and then I can bring it all back down again. So I'm going to lay my music paper down as my background to start off with. So just quickly run over the top. And for this one, I'm not particularly bothered about bubbles and wrinkles. It just all adds to the rich tapestry, if you like. So I've got some grid paper. So I'm going to add some grid paper over the top, start building up some background layers. And I've got a piece of that dictionary paper. No particular words chosen, it's just at random. Just opened the old dictionary and just grabbed a page out of it. So stick that up there. I've sort of got an idea in my head what I want this to look like, but I'm not fixed in stone on it. Put a little piece of that there. And we'll get some more of that graph paper down here. So just tear off that edge. I don't really want that straight edge there. And then we'll get another piece of that dictionary paper and that. Let's just turn that over. Okay, so what I'm also going to do is just grab another piece of that Tim Holtzy ephemera, and I've got a little bit of vintage photo just on a phone. So I'm just going to add in that over there. This might need a little bit more glue because it's a little bit thicker. So let's just add just a touch more. That'll do. Yeah, these ephemeras, pieces of ephemera, are a little bit thicker, so we'll need a little bit more persuasion to stick down, but that's fine. Okay, go over that one there, and then I'm going to use this one. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself because I've got to remember where I'm going to be putting my main focal points. But before I go any further, just want to add these two bits in because I like these bits. That should do it. Excellent stuff. Okay, so there's my base layer, if you like. I'll just drop that brush into some water. So I'll get that dried. And when it's dry, I'll be back. Okay, so that's pretty much dry. So what I want to do now is I just want to go over with a quick coat of clear gesso. I don't want to use white gesso. I'm just looking around for my kitchen roll. It seems to have disappeared. My paper towels completely vanished off my desk. I've got nothing to dry my brush on. Now I don't know where it's gone to. So I'll have to use my wipe up cloth, which means that somebody's borrowed it and not brought it back, which is a tad irritating. Okay, so clear gesso. So I'm going to go over everything. I want to make sure I've got a good ground because obviously the gesso is slightly gritty, but it will allow the paint and colour that I want to add to the page. It'll allow some movement of the paint before it soaks into the paper. So if I hadn't put the gesso down, it would just soak straight in, and that's not what I want. I want to be able to manoeuvre and move the paint before it dries and soaks into the page. So one complete coating of clear gesso, and then let's get it dry, and then I'll be back. The gesso's dry enough to work on now, so I'm jumped into my paint collection and I've pulled out a couple of colours. So I've got Desert Cactus and Honey Brown. These are from, as you can see, Deco Art Americana. So I'm going to just put a little bit of that brown onto the page, just sprinkle it around, and then I'm going to grab a baby wipe. So this is just a moist wipe. So not running, so if I squeeze it, no water comes off, but it is damp. As you can see, a little bit of water on my hands. And I'm going to just ball that up. Into kind of a round wad. And then I'm going to use that, and I'm going to just manoeuvre it around the page. Now, if I hadn't put the gesso down, I wouldn't be able to do this. It would have soaked straight in. So the beauty of gesso. But of course, the other thing is, because I've got that barrier of gesso underneath the paint, that will also allow me to remove some. So I'm just taking that brown just off the page and then pushing it outwards, because I like to carry on my pages onto the opposite side. Now, when I said without that gesso, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to manoeuvre it. But also, what I can do, I can take some of it off. So in areas, even though the paint's dry, you can still take bits of it off because it's created that kind of barrier. See? Even though it's gone over the top, I can still remove the paint. So that will give me a kind of worn look to the page. So I'm just lightly rubbing the paint. And just like when you do dry brushing, when you dry brush, it picks off or puts the paint down on the highlight. Because I've got multiple layers of paper on the background, it's actually catching on those raised areas on the paper, and that's also lifting off in some of those areas. So you get a kind of weathered, worn, kind of vintagey look to your page. Like that, which I like. So because that's a little bit wet, I'm just going to go over it, get it dried, and then I'll be back. Okay, that didn't take long at all. Not long at all. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to bring in some of that stencil. So I'm going to use the Dotty Comb stencil. And I'm going to use that Desert Cactus, which is a kind of nice, although it's called cactus, it does kind of remind me a little bit of like a sage green. So I'm going to put some of that down onto my mat, and I'm going to grab a sponge, just a little piece of sponge, just an acrylic sponge, just a craft sponge. And I'm going to just start dabbing through and bringing that pattern in. This kind of sagey green works really well with that kind of pattern. So I've got some up there. Bring some of that over here, and I'm just carrying it through onto the next page as well. Pick up a little bit more of that paint there. Love it. It's almost kind of circuit boardy, if you know what I mean. Stick to this corner for now. We need a little bit more. It's soaked in quite well today. Yeah, that's it. Load up the sponge, and then we can go straight in. Carry that pattern over to the next side. Because of the way that the stencil has been designed, I always think when I'm creating these stencils or the designs on the stencils, if I want to repeat the pattern, I can just line it up with where I've already been and then just repeat the pattern on. Just keep on going with it. So even though it's only a 6-inch-ish stencil, you can extend it and carry it further and further on. So if I now place that one down there, I can carry on the pattern for as long as I want with it. So you've got some nice kind of subtle background texture in there. And I think actually I'm going to add a bit more over there. Just bring it down a bit further. And remember, as long as you don't kind of press too hard, your paint shouldn't kind of soak underneath your stencil. But you can always wait and go back later, lay it back down again, because you can see where you've been through the holes, and give it a second coat if that's what you want. Okay, so I'll pop that to one side, get that cleaned off later. Get this dry. I'll get rid of this bit of paint here. And then start thinking about adding on my next layers. Okay, so my green paint is kind of dry. As you can see, we've got that nice kind of dotty pattern in the background. So I just want to add a little bit more before we go any further. So I'm going to add a little bit of metallic today. So for that, I'm going to be using some Dina Wakley Media acrylic or metallic acrylic. This is the penny. So this is a copper colour. So we've got a little bit of a steampunky vibe going on today, because copper is just one of those fantastic kind of steampunk colours. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pick up a little bit on the brush, and then I'm going to just kind of dry brush on some kind of coppery highlights into the background of the page. Just subtly. I'm not going over the top. I'm just kind of dragging the brush down the page. I've not added any water to it, so it's a dry brush. Because we've added that gesso, if you get somewhere you don't want it, you can always just wipe it off. So just some of those areas there where we wiped away the paint, just to add a little bit of that nice kind of metallic-y sheen. I'll just pick that up and you can just see where it's shining now. Not necessarily because it's wet, it's because it's metallic. A little bit more down there in the centre. Yeah, that's it. Kind of like that. It's almost distressed, worn kind of look. Drop that in, get rid of that paint. And I'm just going to give it a quick blast with the heat gun just to make sure that it's totally dry. Right, so that page is dry, but as you can see, that metallic paint is still shining through, which is cool. So I'm going to pop that to one side for just a second, and then I'm going to bring back in those spotlights. So I want to use, I think it's, let me just, I've got a circle, so it's that one there. So I want to just knock out, there we go. So it's that one that I want, so I don't need those in the middle there. So these just pop out, just a little bit, so you can just twist that, and then we can put those to one side. Just grab my emery board. I'm just going to, that's that. Just where it was holding, you can barely see it. There we go. Done. So I want to paint this. So I've got some gold. So I'm going to pop some gold just down onto my craft mat, and then I'm going to grab, I've got some, now where are they? Distress foam pads. There should be some clean ones somewhere. Odd, they've all gone. Never mind, I'll use this. So again, bit of craft sponge, just acrylic craft sponge. And I've got the gold paint, and I'm just going to dab that over. Now you can use a brush, but I like the mottled effect that you get. Doesn't look even. Of course, if you wanted to, you could use just go through with your embossing powders. If you've got some gold embossing powders, just put the ink, embossing powder, adhesive ink if you like, on your circle, sprinkle your gold over the top, and then just heat it. Okay, so I've just given that a quick blast, so I just want to go back over it again. Now, of course, as with anything, you could always go and put a coat of undercoat on first. You could paint it black first before you add your gold, or you could paint it white. It's up to you. But for me, I don't really think you need priming. Obviously, depending on each paint manufacturer that has different kind of properties. So Dinner Wakeley's gold paint isn't as opaque as some others. It's all down to the amount of kind of like mica that's in there. Okay, let's get that dried off. Okay, so my frame, my spotlight, if you like, nice and shiny, but like I said, if you wanted to make it even more shiny, you could go over it with some clear embossing powder, or you could just use gold embossing powder if you wanted to, but that's just with gold paint. So that's going to be one of my main focal point frame. I'll explain in a second. Right, the next thing is I've got some bits and pieces from an old paper pad. So this is a paper pad called I think it's Voyage Fantastique from Stamperia. So what I've done is I've cut these out of the paper. It's double-sided. So the 12x12, the positions are exactly right. So I'm going to use this as kind of like the background for the page. So I'm going to stick that there. This is why I use that kind of cactus sagey green, because I knew it would kind of fall in with the green colours from there too. Now I know this is a little bit lighter here, but we'll be introducing some more lighter spots in a little while. So what I want to do is I'm just going to grab my glue. So I'm just using standard PVA. Let's see if it'll come out. There we go. So I'll just quickly run around the edges. I'm not going completely to the edge on the corners because I may want to just pick up and pop something underneath, just because I can. So I'm going to stick that about there. Okay, so I've got these dials. So what I've done, because the ones from the actual sheet are larger than a 2.5-inch circle punch, is I've actually scanned the sheet and then printed it to the right size so it will fit a punch. I know it's cheating, but never mind. Okay, so add some of that glue. So we're going to put that one, I think. Let's keep the clock so it's the right size up. And this is where I kind of layer it, just so I've got what I can see. So there's the clock the right way there. And then this one I want to put over in the top right hand corner. So this is where the art journal page just starts to kind of like all come together, and you kind of sprint towards the end. It takes a while to build up your background, and then it's like bang, all done, finished. Like that. And then we've got this one, which I'm going to put over at this side. Actually, I might put it over at this side so it forms part of the fold. So glue. Go. Put it down the middle. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it over this side. Okay, so time to bring in that spotlight frame, which is going to go in there, and that is where I'm going to put my main focal image. And for that I have this rather dapper looking chap. Now, as we're coming up towards October, and it is also coming up towards Halloween, I also like this image because it's got that real kind of like devilish beard, a beard and moustache. So you could use this image, or I could, going forward, and actually tint him a little bit red and maybe give him some horns. But I really like this image anyway. I've had it in my stash for ages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit of PVA and make sure I've got plenty in the nib. That's it. I'm just going to go around the edge like so. The beauty of PVA is, of course, it dries clear, but you could always use glossy accents. So I'll put him down there. I'm just going to drop this over the top. There we go. Just turn that over, and then I can position it on the back of the frame, on the back of that spotlight, just where I want him. And then I can just go back again, and then on the back, just round the edge. Don't have to put any in the middle, but I'm just going to put a little drop. Now you could, or I could, if I wanted to, offset it, bring it down there, which I think I will actually. I'll just offset it slightly so you can see that clock a little bit underneath. Just have that about there. And that creates a really nice kind of frame on the page. And the reason I did these at 2mm MDF rather than 3 is because that means I can actually close the art journal. It doesn't create too much bulk, because 2mm is no thicker than these kind of chips from Tim Holtz. So any thicker and it will be more difficult to close the page. There. And then if you wanted to, you could pop out one of the other ones. There we go, just give it a twist. And you could add a second image there if you wanted to, or you could put your phrase or a quote or whatever if you wanted to. So I'm going to take this piece now, I'm just going to add a little bit more distress to it. Bit more grunge. So now I can just add a little bit more. Let me go up there. Add that to there. Come on, glue. Like so. Then I've got that ticket. Just make it a bit dirty because it's looking a bit too clean for me. There we go. Some glue on there. And then I think, yeah, I'm going to put that out there. Okay, so a nice little clustered page. So what I want to do just to finish off is just bring some of that lightness from the background, from the foreground, and put it back into the background. So I've got some white paint here. So I just put a splodge of white like that. And then I had another piece of sponge somewhere. I did have 3 pieces. These things have a tendency to, there it is, a tendency to roll off my desk and end up on the floor. So I'll just take some white, and then I'm just going to drop this other stencil down, and I'm just going to add some white dots, just using the dotty wave stencil, so it just brings that lightness. I suppose it's a bit more controlled, excuse me, a bit more controlled than just adding splatters onto the page. So I know people sometimes don't like splats. Kind of a bit of a kind of regularity to it, rather than just total randomness. I suppose you could kind of say timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, if you know what that means. Yeah, like that. Just put that back there, just make that a bit lighter, a bit heavier. There. That's it. I think maybe just a tad more down here. Yeah, if you don't like random splatters, this is a really good way of getting that similar sort of effect of that white, but in a bit more of a controlled manner. I know sometimes people's OCD don't allow them to to put splatters on because it's far too irregular. But this will help, and you can get that same effect. And I think I'm going to leave that exactly as it is. I don't think I want to add anything else to the page. I like the fact that we've got the gold. I like the fact that we've got the copper in the background. It just adds that little bit more of a dimension to it. And of course we've got that lovely kind of circle theme going through the page. So liking that a lot. I think these spotlights are going to be very, very versatile. And the other thing I just want to mention is because they're only 2mm thick, it means if you actually wanted to cut them in a particular place, all you have to do, so for example if I wanted to add another one there, is you just put it in place and you can literally just cut through it with scissors. So if I want to just go there, I'm not at the right angle there, I think. Maybe I should have gone in a little bit. There we go. Look at that. You can join them, and then you've still got your piece that you had left over that you could use somewhere else. Thoroughly versatile. You can just cut through those with scissors, paint them, emboss them, add glitter to them. Just adds that little bit of extra kind of dimension, that frame, that spotlight to an art journal page. I think that is it. I'm going to sign it and date it, but I'm actually going to do it in this box up here. So I'm going to sign it there. And I'm going to put today's date, which is it the 13th or 14th today? No, it's not, it's neither, it's the 12th. There we go. So the 12th day of September 2020. Perfect for the time traveller. That's all from me for now. I hope you've enjoyed watching me put that art journal page together, and you've enjoyed watching me use those new products, or some of the new products, on this page. So if you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I will see you all again very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.